Hey there YouTube, it's Kurt here, and today I wanted to talk about one of the most iconic bands of all time. And of course, I am talking about Nirvana. And they were pretty much the band that spearheaded the whole grunge movement and made pretty huge waves throughout the 90s and are still really, really popular today. And I just want to talk about my overall impressions of the band and how I think they've influenced me. And kind of give them an overall rating, I guess, in terms of how they've affected me. And just bring you guys some new content and some discussion points about music and stuff. So, yeah, first off, I want to say that any band that really picks up instruments and writes music from their instruments, I think nowadays, with all the music that is produced instead of written, I think that's something that bears merit. Any band that writes all their own shit, I immediately respect because so much music is just run by producers instead of songwriters nowadays. So I have to give them that respect. So that is one thing that is very positive with them about me, and they were pretty rockin' live. It seemed like they had their stuff together, and they had kind of that angsty feel to their songs. It was like taking jazz chords and adding a lot of angst to them and putting it through a fucking loudspeaker, and it was really it was insanely different for the time, and it was just insanely different for any time for that matter. Nobody ever heard anything like that before. So that is something that's awesome. And now, to be fair, I think no band comes without criticism. I think you should be able to fairly criticize any band without getting much hatred for your criticism, as long as you're fair. In my point of view, I feel like the angst-driven, angry, depressed emotion behind a lot of their songwriting, well, I felt like that didn't really change. I felt like, to a certain degree, that emotion got a little bit repetitive. I think if you're going to be a well-rounded artist, you need to write material that changes in its emotional aspect, and that just shows you as being a multi-dimensional person as well. But we all know that Kurt Cobain, he was a very depressed individual, and he did most of the songwriting. So I can only go so far with that criticism. Obviously, I'm not coming from a standpoint of that I've had a ton of success. These are just my impressions. I just can't sit down and listen to 3 Nirvana records in a row. And yeah, that's what would make them better for me. Is what would make them on par with, I guess, bands like Queen. Queen really, they're a different style, but they adhere to me because I feel like they're better at making more rounded albums. Sometimes they get a little repetitive. Every band has some repetition. But yeah, so that's one of the problems I have with Nirvana. Another problem I think that I would have that makes them not as popular to me, personally, even though they are still very awesome and deserve beyond a shadow of a doubt to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, is that I love the weird chord structures. I love the different chord structures, and it seemed like sometimes that was taken too far as well. It was like, we get it. You like playing with different chords. Maybe try a song that's in a normal key, which they probably had a couple, but still put it in their own grungy fashion. Maybe that's just the nature of the genre, but yeah, that's just it takes a certain very awesome skill for, I think, artists to make entire albums that people can sit down and listen to and just be amazed throughout the whole thing. Very rarely do I get that impression from a lot of albums. If you're curious about that, an album that I thought blew me away throughout the whole thing, admittedly, it's I felt like The Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. That blew me away throughout the whole entire album. There was one song I felt that was annoying, but proportionally it was very, very good. Also, I really loved Permission to Land. That was the first album by The Darkness, and it was just, That was also a completely new style. I get that with the whole falsetto thing, that kind of rubs people the wrong way throughout an entire album. But it's not throughout the entire album. You get a lot of variedness within that. Maybe I'm just making excuses because I like these bands. I don't know. But also, Steel Panther is I think Balls of Steel. That might have been the second album. Feel the Steel, I think, was the first album. And I think, yeah, Feel the Steel was an album I sat down and pretty much was amazed by almost every song. That's the way I wanted to put it. But yeah, overall, my rating for Nirvana, and this is not their rating, this is not me saying they're not good, it's just how they resonate with me. For me, out of a score of 10, they resonate at about a 6 for me. And I think that's commendable. So that's like, meh, they're pretty good in my brain. They're awesome in terms of accomplishments, and for me, they're just pretty good, if that makes sense. So if you have any thoughts about how Nirvana rubbed you, or any band in particular, I'm thinking about doing just multiple ones of these just for content purposes. It's like, I do all these guitar videos, and I love doing the guitar videos, but now we're like writing with a band, and it's like, as far as keeping up interesting like content, I feel like just discussion points and like philosophical discussions about like music, those are like really, yeah, those can be really cool. Like one thing I want to mention on the side, sometimes bands don't often have an awesome first album, and it takes them a while to hit their stride. Perfect example is the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Their first album was hated by most of their fans. If they try to sit down and listen to it, they will fucking turn it off probably right away, because it wasn't anything like they sound today. It wasn't like anything like the future albums. So really, sometimes bands really have to hit their stride, and I think it would have been really pretty cool to see what it would have been like if Nirvana would have been able to continue. But unfortunately, certain events happened, and that's not the case. So yeah. Would I wear a Nirvana t-shirt? Yeah, I'd wear a Nirvana t-shirt. I wouldn't be as gung-ho about it as, I don't know, I have my Zeppelin t-shirt. I wouldn't be as gung-ho about it. But I would wear it, yeah. I think that's the best measurement of how you feel about a band, is whether or not you would wear their t-shirt. So comment on that if you like. But okay, I'm gonna get out of here. I got a show tonight, and it'll be awesome. Yeah, it'll just be awesome. So see you guys.